I'm Andy Powers, guitar player, musician, guitar maker, guitar designer at Taylor Guitars. And I fell in with the guitar at a pretty young age, and I see this thing not so much just as a collection of maybe wood and strings and some frets, tuning machines, but it's a magic box of sorts. It's this thing that's just incredible for telling stories, for letting a musician express their artwork. And there's nothing else like that. It lets them sing their songs and kind of express themselves. This thing's just, it's incredible for that reason. So if you ask me what I loved about the guitar, I'd have to say everything. They're amazing. As the guitar maker for Taylor Guitars now, this is a real treat to get to build these instruments and put them into the hands of musicians all over the place. Because, man, it's something to build a guitar, something to build two guitars, but when you can build a lot of them and have them all be good and get to put them into the hands of a bunch of musicians around the world, man, that's incredible. So I'm very privileged to get to do that. I mean, sometimes I think of myself like a paintbrush maker, where you're making these tools that you get to put into the hands of an artist to go let them make their musical artwork. My first guitar actually would be, I guess it'd be the guitar that my family had. Both my parents are, they're hobbyist musicians. My dad's a carpenter by trade. So we had a piano in the house. My dad had an old mandolin. And we had this old little small box, like a little flat top guitar. And that was what I first started playing songs on. And I liked that it was made of wood. I liked the songs that my parents would play on it. I thought, man, this is cool. This is like this fun sound-making machine. So I had that. And I still have that guitar, actually. Still works pretty good. My parents have it. And they still play some songs on it. Still gets passed around. Could use a new set of strings at this point. But yeah, I fell pretty deep and pretty hard for the guitar. In different contexts, I'll look at the instrument different, sometimes as a builder, sometimes as a player. Because as you're building the thing, it feels a little like taking a bunch of pieces of wood and cutting away everything that isn't a guitar. And then all your cuts are real big to begin with, and then they become smaller and smaller as it gets close to being done. And at a certain point, it's done. It's like hands off. And at that point, it feels like I'm no longer a guitar maker, I'm a guitar player. Because the guitar it's not really even done. It doesn't have a voice until somebody's playing it. That's when it becomes really done. It's really coming into its own as, all it was meant to be. So I do look at them a little different. In my case, during the building process, I'll go back and forth a little. Because, you're shaping a neck, you go, no, this is not what I want to feel as a player. Something might be easy to do as a builder, but it isn't what a player would want. So I correct those things and keep working on it till it's exactly what a player would want. Yeah, when you really get to start playing the guitar, that's when the musician takes over. I don't know that I have a specific riff or song or anything that I play, almost like to crescent it or break a bottle of champagne across the bow or something. There's nothing like that, but it tends to be whatever's been on my mind at the moment. And my musical taste is I guess I'd like to use the word eclectic. Some people might say dyslexic, but it's pretty far all over the map, And so whatever I got in my head at the moment, that's kind of what I go towards. Some days it would be, an old bluegrass tune, kind of doing that, or some days it might be something like that. Maybe whatever. It's all good. A guitar is built on, at least in the modern world, it's built on equal temperament tuning, so it can't ever be perfect. So I'll balance things in a variety of ways to stretch it and make sure my strings have the right stretch tuning. But there are some chords that are they're not happy on a guitar. It points out the wrongness in things pretty quickly. It was one of the most interesting things with the V-Class guitar design that we introduced starting about a year ago, is the way that even simple triadic inversions, simple chords, could all play in tune without like real strong beating or anything like that. So if I went real high on the fingerboard where it's very unflattering and played, in this case, an E major with a double G sharp, so I get a doubled major third. Wow, that's really in tune. And then I could play a G major up here, which normally I'd want to stretch tune that a different direction. That's in tune. And this C major, it's like every one of those simple basic inversions of a chord shape, every single note hits us as really in tune. Everything worked really cool. That was a happy day. I was pretty thrilled with that. I really liked playing music when I was a kid. I mean, I started on piano when I guess I was maybe 5 years old, 6 years old, somewhere in there. And so I was playing some piano and taking lessons. And my dad's a carpenter. So I was around a lot of woodworking. And so that's kind of what I was into as a kid. And I'd really started getting into playing guitars. Actually, there was the first live show I ever went, my parents took me to see. I went to see Doc Watson play. He was playing at a local theater. And so I was sitting in the audience and watching him, just like enraptured, you know. He's this guy telling stories and singing songs. It was great. And afterwards, I walked up to him because he's standing in the aisle shaking hands. And I'm like, hey, can I have your autograph? He goes, oh, kid. He goes, you know, I never learned to read or write because I can't see. And so he rubs me on the head. He goes, but maybe some of that guitar playing will rub off on you. Maybe that's something you can remember me by. Okay, cool, wow. So I went home and I started fooling around on our family's guitar. And so I got really into guitars. And I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, a year goes by, something like that. And my dad brought home a chunk of wood that was big enough for me to cut a guitar shape out of. So I'm gonna build a guitar. That'd be fun. So I tried to build a guitar and it blew up into 1,000 pieces. Darn, that didn't work. So I tried again when I can get another big piece of wood, and that one broke. But man, there's more to this than I figured. So I built this third one. And that one started to work, and that was kind of it. I've sort of always been building guitars, and always got deeper and deeper into playing and building. Ended up restoring guitars and repairing guitars, and I didn't really figure on it as being a job, or whatever that is, until I went to college to study music, and all those years were spent building and selling guitars to my professors and classmates and all the musicians in town and that kind of thing. So by the time all my friends were starting to get jobs, I went, oh, well, I've been in business for more than 10 years now. My bills are paid, which is awesome. I really love doing this though. I really love guitars. And wouldn't you know it, I got a waiting list. I can't quit even if I wanted to. I guess I'm a guitar maker. So it kind of went that way. Guitar making wasn't supposed to be a job. I was just obsessed with it and never quit. Just like when you're a musician, you learn maybe your first chord, your first 2 chords, and if you can get that third chord, so you could play like a 1, 4, and 5, then all of a sudden you get to play all the songs, or at least a good majority of them. You learn your first minor chord, and that's a big deal. You know, you learn all those little things, you know, your first couple of scales that lets you play a melody. You know, all those things that feel like the dawn of a new day. As a builder, there's the same kind of plateaus, the same big hurdles that you run into and you fail and you crash right into this cliff, and then you can finally scale up and over that challenge. You go, wow, okay, this is really something. Like the first time you can successfully bend a set of sides without breaking a piece of wood, man, that's a pretty big thrill. First time you can reliably do a fret job, have all the frets come out really good, or build a straight neck. It takes a long time to figure out how to do some of those things, to consistently, on purpose, have something turn out the way you want it to, or set string compensation, or any number of different things. I mean, just like playing music, guitar building is a series of little tasks. And each one has its own challenges, its own tools, its own methods that you can overcome it and even learn to excel at it. So the whole guitar can be made that way. It can be made on purpose, expecting a good result the whole time. You know, it's not a fluke, it's not an accident. So they're pretty similar in that ways. If I were to say that there was a highlight, honestly, I'd have to say it's the guitar I'm going to build tomorrow. I mean, I've had some really enjoyable experiences. I'm really proud of what we've accomplished. There's been some really fun instruments to build and play and listen to. There have been a couple of times where I'd built an instrument and, you know, one of my musical heroes ended up with it, playing it on their record or on stage. Those are all great feelings. But the real thing that drives me, that I'm looking for, is I want to do a better job building an instrument. I want to make something that's even better than what we've done, what I've done in the past, so that I can put this thing into the hands of a musician and go, okay, go make your artwork. This is the best thing that I can make today for you. You know, in my life, I want to learn how to love well. And that's, of course, my family and my friends on that level, but it extends to the musicians that I serve. I want that to extend to this guitar to go, man, I want to do a really good job serving you with an instrument that you love, that makes your life better by owning and playing it. It's a high calling to draw yourself with. I mean, it keeps you going every day. Makes you want to do a better job than you've ever done.